Morning, Saturday from Manhattan Beach, California. I'm Jefferson Graham. We've got Jack Hollingsworth in Austin, Texas. We're talking iPhone photography today. Hey, Jack.
Hey, Jefferson. How are you, man?
I'm doing great. We're going to talk street photography, and Jack is one of the masters at it. Jack has some amazing photos of Cuba, of portraits that he took in Cuba that we're going to show to the video portion of the audience, and we'll tell the audio portion all about these pictures. And his stuff is just stellar. I'm bowled over by it. So we'll talk about that in a second. Jack, a little news. Let's start off with some news. If it's January, it's time for the contests. So the iPhone Photography Awards just announced that they're open for entries, and the Toronto Smartphone Film Festival is also open for entries. The iPhone Photography Awards closes in March, but they'll charge you $5.50 an image to upload, and the Toronto guys are free through January 16th. So get your pictures ready. Jack, have you submitted to any of these guys before?
I have not, Jefferson. That's just my thing, but I believe in contests. I think it's a good thing for those folks that are amateurs and hobbyists to get some validation. But no, generally, I don't enter.
Okay. Well, they're fun to look at because the pictures are generally really, really, really good, and they tend to be taken on older iPhones. They're generally not. The winners are not taken on the new iPhone, and they're all over the world. So the iPhone Awards is ippawards.com, and but let me go quickly find the URL for the Toronto guys. They are, where are they? Well, I'll get back to it, but we'll put all the URLs in the description. Let's talk about street photography. First of all, Jack has something to plug, so tell everybody about what you're doing in Cuba.
Yeah, it would be February 17th, 24th. It's a week-long exclusive 10-person iPhone portrait street photography in Cuba. We got room for 10. I go a couple times a year. It's my favorite place in all the universe. 90 miles from Miami, the most exotic place you've ever been. Would love to have you join me. Got room for 10.
Okay. Tell everybody what you do during that week. I assume you take some pictures.
We mostly, yeah, it's a hands-on, of the 10 days or the 10 hours, 12 hours of daylight. We're on the street shooting. We're shooting every day, all day, sun up to sundown, and most of the time into the night. So the focus is on street and portrait photography, but we do all kinds: architecture, food, travel, all that kind of stuff. I mean, it is absolutely a blast. We walk 3 to 5 miles a day in Old Havana, probably one of the most exotic places in the United States, that's close to the United States, and it's just a blast. So again, we got room for 10 folks, and would love to have you join us.
All right. How much does it cost?
It's if you follow the link, which I'm sure you'll post, it's about $1,500 for the workshop for the 7 days of hanging around with me and my tutorage, and then you pay for your Airbnb and your airfare and that kind of stuff. So
Okay.
it's reasonable.
Okay, so before we show some pictures of Jack, I want you to click that gear button again in your thumbnail. I think your audio is coming from your AirPods and not from the USB mic. So check that, and we're going to say hi to Roy, who's hello from Arizona, Prescott, Arizona. Hey, you doing, Roy? Thanks for coming in. Let's look at some pictures because they are really, really good while Jack checks it out. Here we go. Okay. So we're starting with a picture of a model posing in front of a really old, beautiful yellow car on one of those great Havana streets. iPhone street photography. Jack, would you tell people, did you hire this model? Did you just walk up to her and say, hey, pose for me in front of a great car? Tell us about it.
No, yeah. Of all the shots that I did send you, ironically, this was the only model that we hired, excuse me, from Havana. So everybody else was pretty much impromptu on the street. Hey, you look great. Can I take your picture? But this one we hired for 2, maybe even 3 days, and we shot with her literally for 8 hours every day. And her name was Linda. She was no older than 18 years old, and she was absolutely fabulous.
Okay, so the car, was that just there, or did you rent the car as well?
Yeah, they're everywhere. No, that was not a. There's probably 10 of those cars on every street that you walk. So they are there in abundance. Those 1950s car, and you can kind of do whatever you want.
All right, so here we go. This is a woman in a denim jacket with a scarf around the top of her head, holding what looks like a taco shell or a quesadilla by the Cuban flag. So tell everybody about that. Did you just walk up to her
Yeah.
and say, "Turn around and smile"?
Jefferson, are you hearing this mixed audio, or does
I
it
do hear.
sound all
It sounds fine.
okay? So I'm getting feedback for some reason. Anyway, yeah, this woman actually chased us. So generally, I'm the one that's asking people for their photograph, but this woman actually chased us for a photograph. This was her pose. This is what she wanted. She didn't want to be paid. She wasn't looking for a tip. She just wanted her photograph made. So, which is really not that uncommon in Cuba. It's so safe. It's so easy to photograph. The people love to be photographed, and it is the perfect place to cut your teeth on street and portrait photography.
And I want to remind everybody that you did all these photos on an iPhone.
Yes, an iPhone 14 Pro Max.
Right. Okay, let's go to the next one, which is a guy looking at you straight ahead from a little alcove. It's great. I mean, it's really nice shot. And again, you just said, "Hey, look at the camera, my friend."
That's pretty much it. Yeah, I mean, he was just hanging out, I think, with they all live pretty much. This is all bottom floor, so this is his home. So in the mid morning, late afternoon, they hang out at the window, drinking a tea or a water or something. And these shots are a dime a dozen. They're all over the place. And it was just, I don't remember literally in the 2 trips that I've been, maybe I've asked 200, 300 people for their photograph. I don't think I was ever declined more than 3 or 4 times. So this was just, they don't speak English. So, and I had an assistant who I am speaking through who speaks Spanish and English, but generally they're happy, they're friendly, they'll do whatever you want. Click, done.
Okay. Same thing. Another guy, heavily, heavily, heavily tattooed, giving you not the friendliest look, but framed really nicely with some beautiful green in the background. Again, you saw him there and just said, "Boom, here we go."
Yeah, he was actually, this is really kind of funny. He was in the fruit and vegetable market. And I was chit chatting with him through body language. I mean, obviously, he's not speaking English. He had a big smile, super friendly. He was laughing his head off. And then, as soon as I said, "Hey," through the interpreter, tell him just to stay in that position, lean forward, and show me a look, in Spanish. She says that. That's what he gave me. So, I mean, literally 10 seconds earlier, he had a huge monster smile and was chuckling and carefree. And this is how he felt he wanted to look in the photograph. And I really love what he gave me.
Okay, we have a question from Roy. Can I move this down? Do you have problems from the authorities for taking pictures around town?
Zero. Absolute zero problem. There are lots of policemen and police women on the beat in the street, and they are often right beside me when I'm shooting. I never was asked to move on by any authority ever, any government official, any police. It again, it is so photo friendly in Cuba, way beyond anything that I've ever imagined, and easier than any place that I've ever been.
Okay, we've got this wonderful man in a pink suit in front of a pink wall. That just happened automatically, or you put him there?
Yeah, I put him there. Now, there are a number of people that basically do this for a living that get dressed up every day. And you'll see some of the other senioritas that in floral costumes, and they literally get dressed up. They go to where the tourists hang out. You pay them $1, $2, $3, whatever you want to tip them, and usually you're required to only shoot one shot. So what I do and what I will do on the workshop and show people how I do it on the workshop is that I paid the person, say, $5, $5 US, for 5 minutes. And so I took this guy, I saw his pink outfit, and then I found, a salmon or pink colored wall that I thought complemented his outfit, and I just put him in front of it, and we snapped away for 5 minutes.
And they like US dollars, not pesos?
They love US dollars.
How do you spend a US dollar in Cuba? Yes, you do, somehow.
Pretty easy. Pretty easy.
Okay.
There's a lot of US dollars. As a matter of fact, the locals, you can't use US dollars in, a lot of times in restaurants or government stores or that kind of thing. But believe me, they love US dollars. And when you're tipping, I think most people on the street want US dollars. They don't want pesos. They want a US dollar.
Okay. Do they take credit cards?
When I went, no credit cards. It's
No
a
credit cards.
complete cash. It's a cash situation. So when I go, whether it's by myself or in a workshop environment, I might bring, say, $200, $300 in ones, and then I will dish it out, sparingly, as needed, throughout the week.
Okay. A beautiful woman I think you shot her in portrait mode, blue and white stripes. She's got braids. She's got a scarf on her head. She's giving you a great look. Tell us about this photo.
Yeah, just a pedestrian walking on the street, and what I noticed right away was her blue dress and her blue, handkerchief, and her braids, and she just looked awesome. So again, think of I have a guy with me, Wilbur, who's shooting video of me doing all this because we're making content for a course. His wife, Yurka, who speaks better English than Wilbur, is my mouthpiece wherever I go. So imagine three of us walking on the street, and I see this woman, and I say to Yurka, Yurka, and I point to her. And Yurka knows exactly, what the pitch is, what to say. I don't say anything to Yurka other than going, let's see if she wants a shot. So Yurka does her thing, makes the pitch, never gets rejected. She's lovely. She's gorgeous. She's a bundle of energy. I love working with her, and people love being around her. So, I mean, it was pretty basic, pretty easy.
And you shot this in portrait mode?
Shot it in portrait mode. I usually only use portrait mode when I want to blur the background. And I think in this case, there was some construction stuff that I was kind of nervous about. So I shot it in portrait mode. But generally, I'm using the main camera and the main lens. And then I distance myself, relatively about an arm's length away, which is roughly 2 to 3 feet.
Okay, let's look at one more picture and then we'll talk technique. This is a beautiful black and white of a Cuban profile, sort of like the flip mugshot, but really arty. And he's not looking at you; he's looking the other direction. Did you tell him to do that?
I did, and this, by the way, is my video guy. This is Wilbur. This is the guy that does all my video stuff. He does my web stuff, my HTML stuff, my web marketing. This is the guy. So when I go to Cuba, this is kind of my eyes and ears on the ground. I took this shot of Wilbur. I think it was against the blue background a couple of years ago, and he's got such a great mustache and a goatee and a strong cheekbones and great nose, and he loves his sunglasses. I just thought it looked pretty awesome in black and white. I never shoot in black and white. I usually convert it after the fact, and I think this was the noir filter in the
Yeah.
Photos app.
All right. Fidel Castro lookalike, uh,
Yeah,
to to a T, with the green hat and the big
to a
beard.
T.
Yes, and he's, I assume he poses for people because he looks
To
so much
to
like him.
to a T. Probably my second favorite guy in Cuba, and I go looking for him every time I'm there. I'm trying to go find this guy. He's always in the same spot, and he has two to three of these Castro-like outfits, and again, I think in his case, I probably paid him $5, and I spent 15 minutes with this guy. I brought him to like within his block. I probably brought him to five different locations. I shot him profile, straight on, in portrait mode, wide angle, normal lens, telephoto, profile left, profile right, direct light, indirect light, soft light, hard light. And I just got a ton of this guy. I love this guy. He speaks zero English, and he is an absolute joy to photograph.
Okay, let's talk about technique. But first, another question from Roy, which is: are there camera shops or Apple stores in Cuba?
No.
Yeah, I wouldn't think so. Is there electricity to charge up your phone? How about that?
Yes.
There are
Yes.
power outlets at your Airbnbs, right?
Yes, and most of it is, most of it is 110 accessible. It's just like traveling in the U.S., pretty much.
Okay. So my experience with street photography when I'm traveling is I find interesting people. I start up a conversation with them, whether that's I'm buying something from them or I'm talking to them about buying something. That's usually how I end up meeting them. And I say, smile, please, smile for the photo, or I hold it up if it's a language barrier, like when I was
Hmm.
in Japan recently. And if they go, no, 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 then I won't take their picture. But if they say sure,
Hmm.
then I'll snap the photo. What's really impressive about your work is not only do you work with locals, but you get them posed in the right place. Usually for me, they're not going to move. They're just going to stay where they are. And like for that wonderful shot we just did of the Fidel Castro lookalike, you have them against a blank, distraction-free wall. That's what's most impressive about your photos is distraction-free. There's not things coming out of people's heads. There's not other things to look at. They were just looking at their faces, which is the way I want to do it. So how do you move people like this?
Yeah, thanks for noticing that, because that's really I would say pretty much a hallmark of my street portrait work. I tend to find the background first. I know it seems counterintuitive, but I'll find the background first, and not just a background, but a background that's lit the way that I want it lit. Maybe it's in the open shade, or it's in direct light, or it's got strong side light with texture. I will hang around at that background a minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 4 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever, until a person comes to me or past me that I think would be a compliment to the background. And then I shoot them. Sometimes it's a quick shot. Sometimes it's a 3 minute shot. Sometimes it's a 5 minute shot, but background first and then subject second. So it's not like I'm just wandering around the street. I ask someone and they are like standing there in a perfect blue background or a salmon color back. No, I found the background and then I brought the person to the background. And of course, they're flattered. They love that because
So if
then
you,
I show
so
them.
so if you were in Paris on one of those wonderful side streets by the Eiffel Tower, you would find the side street background and wait for them to walk by.
100%.
Okay, very
Yes.
impressive and very instructional. I'll try this on my next trip, which could be soon. What's your pitch to them, particularly in a place where you don't speak the language?
Well, I think the pitch, excuse me, the pitch is kind of like what you said. If I didn't have the help of somebody like Yurka, in Wilbur, then I would do the same body language, hold my camera up, smile at them, make eye contact. I'm not going to be directing them. I'm not going to move them to another background. I'm pretty much going to get the shot right then and there because they're going to be suspicious. I mean, how do you tell someone in a different language, hey, can you come over here with me? They're going to be like, I don't know what you're saying. I mean, you could use the phone app and translate, which I've done before, but it's a little awkward. So generally, if I don't have local help in the language, then I use body language and smile. And the
Okay.
pitch, by the way, this will seem completely counterintuitive, but the pitch is to tell them as little as possible. I'm not lying. I'm not sensationalized. I'm just saying, hey, you look really cool. Can I take a picture?
But
Like I'm not going on.
but most of these photos you have tipped people, right?
No,
No.
no,
Fidel Castro
no. The
you tipped,
only
and the pink suit guy you tipped.
the only ones the pictures that I sent you, the only ones that I have tipped in on this Cuba shoot were people that do it for a living.
Okay.
People that get dressed up, the guy
Okay.
in the pink jacket and so forth. Yeah.
It's okay. I mean, you
No.
got the photo. I have a follow up on this, but first we have another question from Liz. Do you find most people agree to have their photos taken when you ask them for permission? Yes, 95%. That's my take on that. How about Jack?
Same. I would say 99%.
Yeah, yeah. Most people always say yes, and if they don't, I mean, that's fine because what is it? 350 billion people on the planet.
Yeah.
We have plenty to choose from.
Yeah.
Okay, now Jack, we talked about the pitch and what you do in Cuba, but you photographed in Miami, in Austin, and other places. So now you've got the English language that you can talk to somebody. Now you've got your background. And so will you just stand there in Austin and stand in front of your background and wait for somebody and say, hey, I need you in front of this wall. Help me out?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, my whether it's Austin or Miami or wherever, my pitch is so simple. It's like step one. Hey, you look really cool. Step two, I noticed your XXX. Your hair, your eyes, your scarf, whatever. You mind if I take a picture? Step three, oh yeah, I'm an iPhone photographer. Step four, oh yeah, I'm working on a project called XXXXX. Step five, can you give me 1 minute? I promise you I'm going to make you look fabulous, and I'll share the work with you via AirDrop if you're an iPhone user.
Right. Okay.
All of
Now
that
I
stuff,
should
I
I
don't-
should
I
just
don't-
say, now Jack, if I walk up to somebody and say, you have beautiful hair, and I really love this hairstyle, and I want to take your picture, that could be
Yeah.
considered a come on. So,
Yeah.
how are you dealing with that?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, and I would agree. I mean, I'm 70 years old, so like I don't want to appear creepy on the street, so I try to just smile at them, be honest, vulnerable, humble, make eye contact, and just say, "Hey, do you mind if I take your picture?" That's it.
And
Done.
the great thing about iPhone is that we can airdrop it to them immediately, and they get a portrait right there. So that which you couldn't do. We have a question from Roy, but I want you to talk afterwards about the advantage of street photography on an iPhone. But first, Roy says, do many natives in Cuba have smartphones, or do you see them with other cameras?
Yeah, tons. As you would expect, like any place else in the world, I see a ton of phones on the street. I would say predominantly what I see are Android phones, and the people that have pretty decent jobs. I see with iPhones, but no, everyone has a phone. So the cool thing about having a phone is you are one of them. You are not the photographer anymore. You're just like you're traveling tourist. Just like, hey, can I take a picture? You look really cool. Done. Boom.
Okay.
Let's
What's
go.
the advantage for me of iPhone street photography is that, it's the ultimate travel camera. When you wake up in the morning, you're not bogged down with all this gear around your neck. You've got the phone in your pocket and you are ready to shoot at any time, and it does not make people feel uncomfortable. If I pull out a big black camera with a big lens, it's off-putting to them. But the iPhone, they have an iPhone, so it speaks the universal language. What advantage do you find about street photography with the iPhone?
I don't even know if I could add anything to that. That's brilliantly said. I completely 1000% agree with you. Uh, it's kind of freeing. Like on the street, having an iPhone is kind of like having a conversation. There's no hiding behind a viewfinder, right? You know, like on a lens, you think of it, you got a big camera, your eyes up against a viewfinder, and what is the subject looking at? The subject is looking at the camera, the lens, but not your face. So an iPhone, they're looking at your face, your eyes, your expressions, your emotion, your there's an intimate contact, even if it's, instant. And that is the power and the joy of street iPhone photography. Absolutely.
All right, here's a question from Les. Do you try to get releases from your subjects? And if you don't, do you have any trouble publishing them? Jack?
Yeah. Yeah. Les Wallum, a friend from Dallas, a fantastic, one of my really good friends and a fantastic commercial lifelong career photographer. No, I do not get releases because for the most part, I'm not selling those as licensed stock. Like maybe Les, you would know me from the old days. I use them for blogs, my website, to publish on Facebook, all those things I don't really need a release. I can shoot someone on the street and use that however I want as long as that I don't defame them. I have on occasion, I have an app on my phone in like 10 different languages so that I can get a release if I think and I'm going to use that shot commercially as stock or for something else. But generally, no, I do not get a release. Hey,
Yeah,
Les.
I generally don't either, but I do have a cute little story here. So, about 7 years ago, I was in British Columbia on July 1st. And those of you who know Canada know that that's Canada Day. And I saw two young girls, probably 7, 8 years old, with the Canadian flag painted on their face. And I said, "May I take your picture?" And they said, "Sure." And I did. And it's a beautiful shot. And a few years later, I was doing a British Columbia YouTube video, and I wanted a thumbnail, and that was the perfect thumbnail to me because of the Canadian flag on their faces. So I put it in, and then I heard from the girls. They said, "We're grown up now, and we don't want you using that picture. Take it down now." And I did want to argue with them, so it's easy enough to change the picture, but you never know. You never know. Jack, you have an interesting tip when you talk to people about when they say, "Where do I look?" What do you tell them?
Oh my goodness. I really, if there's one tip from this morning that you'll walk away with and go, "Oh my God, why didn't I figure this out?" Like when you have a phone, most people are saying, no, just they point like this. They go, "Look at the lens." So I stand, let's pretend this is my phone. This right here is my phone. Like instead of pointing to my lens, I tell them to look at my eyes and I get close to the lens. And the thing is about it, when somebody is looking at your eyes, your human eyes, as opposed to looking at the lens, their eyes widen and brighten, and there's way more engagement in the photograph. You look at a lot of my photographs, this is that principle in action. People go, "How do you get so intimate with people so quickly?" My photos don't look like that. Well, that's why they look like that, because I'm saying, don't look at the lens, look at my eyes. And then I'm smiling. And then as soon as they look at my eyes, bang, then it's like their eyes open and they engage for a split second. Boom, 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 boom. There's the shot.
All right. Well, I think those are two really, really great tips today. One is look at my eyes, and the other one is look at the background and then bring somebody over there. That was worth the cost of admission today. Of course, it was free. Roy says, are there any places in Cuba that you're restricted from taking photos?
Yeah. I mean, you can't take pictures of government officials or police officers on the street. They'll go. No. And then there's a lot of, government buildings, that same thing. So, I mean, that's pretty much true almost 100% of anywhere you travel to. Just don't go there. But in terms of photographing on the street, you will not find a more freeing, fabulous, fun place than Old Havana for raising your game in portrait photography. None. Zero.
Okay, what about gangs, crime, criminals, people you don't want to make eye contact with? I was just in Tijuana, and the first thing they told me was stay away from folks. So I had to
Yeah.
pick and choose how I was. I only did street photography when I bought something from somebody. So I didn't want to just start grabbing random shots of people in a foreign country like Mexico. Now, how do you handle that?
And Havana, and I've been to Tijuana too, and I would agree with you, is nothing like Tijuana. I'm not a spokesperson for Cuba, but I could be. It's one of the safest places that I've ever been. I've never had not a lick of trouble in day or night by myself with my friends. Just I literally wander around all day and a lot of times into the night, and it's just I don't know. It's one of those places that is relatively safe to travel and experience photography your way.
Okay, so on that note, where do people go to sign up?
Yeah, if you want more information, just go to iPhonejack.pro. That's it, and every bit of information about the workshop, where we're going to stay, what it's going to cost. So it's iPhonejack.pro. It'll give you all the information you need.
All right. Well, it sounds like fun. I can't wait to go there. I'd love to be there, hopefully in 2024. The latest on PhotoWalks TV this weekend, I have an interview with myself done by ChatGPT. Have you ever thought of that, Jack? Have you ever? Now, the story there is that I was on another guy's podcast, and he asked ChatGPT to come up with questions for me. I said, well, that was interesting. So I said, hey, I'm going to interview myself. And I didn't say, I said, I'm going to interview Jefferson Graham from PhotoWalks TV on a podcast. What questions should I ask? And it generated 20 questions that were pretty interesting. So if you ever want to know my backstory, that video is up. And I'm working on my Tijuana video, my Petaluma, California video, and some other fun stuff. So I hope you'll check out youtube.com/PhotoWalksTV. I hope you'll sign up to go to Cuba with Jack, because, God, look at those pictures. Maybe show a few more before we
Well,
say.
dude, forgive me. Let me say, that's the video guy and his wife. That's who I'm talking about, Yurka and Wilbur. Yeah.
And there's this lady smoking on a big cigar with a pink
just hanging
shirt
out.
on,
She
pink
is
shirt
not
in front of a beautiful green
Yeah.
car. Yeah.
Look at those cars. They're all over the place. Hundreds of them. Hundreds and hundreds of them.
Carmen
this is-
Miranda.
Yeah, this is a paid street model.
Okay, that's it. That's all I got. You were about to say something, Jack.
Yeah, I was just going to say, and you'll probably be embarrassed for me to say this, but I love all that you do. I am such a fan of what you do. I think you're one of the most energetic, passionate, knowledgeable, traveling fools I've ever seen. And I love your enthusiasm, not just for the iPhone, but photography and iPhone video and production. And, people are not listening. If they should be subscribing to your your Substack newsletter. They should watch your PhotoWalks TV. I mean, you're the dude, man. You are the dude.
I'm not embarrassed, so thank you very much. I just don't sleep. That's my only problem.
Okay.
Jack Hollingsworth from Austin, Texas, going to Cuba is it March or February?
February 17th through 24.
Okay, sounds like the trip of a lifetime. Photojack. What is it?
iPhonejack.pro.
iPhonejack.pro. Before we go, we get one last question from Jerry Rice. Thank you both for doing this. Wonderful conversation and great photos too. I always will tell people, if I have a guest on, I love their photos. I'm bowled over by Jack's photos. I mean, they're really, really great, and you did an amazing job, Jack, so thank you. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Love doing these live shows, love talking to everybody, and we'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Jefferson.